Yo, what is going on? PartTimerZack here. In today's video, I wanted to check out this little post here, mainly because we just got done talking about longevity and talking about Reddit and talking about how they're kind of thinking that the game could die eventually. So the point is that this is kind of a roadmap essentially from September to October and giving us a look of what's to come. So this does cover a lot of different things like quality of life stuff, just chapters, all kinds of different stuff. But I wanted to break it down in this video to give you guys an idea. Now, I am a little late because it was 11 days ago. Now, thank to Mimethic Charizard, so I'm not going to be saying that right because I can say it in my head right, and then as soon as I go to say it with words, they don't come out correctly. So hopefully they understand those. So thank them for definitely checking this out and kind of giving us a little bit of a rundown of what's to come. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is paying cage. So as you can see, it's going to increase from 3 to 4 attempts a day. Now, I wouldn't take this as like too much of a change. It's really just to be able to go in there and play a little bit longer. But do note that the AP is not going to kind of structure that way. So you are going to have probably an extra character that you're going to need for that extra attempts during the weekdays and stuff like that. So I'm really kind of excited for this one because I do like going in there and having the 1v1s against bosses, but don't really think of it as like your ratings are going to go up because obviously the numbers are going to go up because you're going to be able to play as much, but you know, so is everybody else. So just kind of think that your ratings and stuff like that are probably just going to shift with everybody else. So just take it as kind of like an extra thing to do. Now the construct. So this is going to be during this little event that I was talking about in my last video where they have like these kind of separate events to kind of help out with the dull period between the major events. So this one's going to help out with the A rank. So it's actually going to give Wannabe and Ayla a chance to shine and come into the game. So there is an A rank Wannabe right now, but this is going to be the dark version of him. And it's going to help out your teams quite a bit with dark teams and stuff like that if you have S rank cam. Now it's going to be an 80% selectable rate up for A rank. So the cool thing is though, you actually only have to pull them 10 times for a guaranteed A rank. However, you have an 80% chance for it to be the character that you want. So you will end up kind of losing sometimes if you get very unlucky and end up hitting that 20%. So it's kind of like the weapons essentially. So if you kind of have bad luck, definitely look up the characters before you roll on it just to give you an idea. But it is kind of a cool thing because you can get an A rank to an S rank pretty quickly because you only have to do 10 pulls. But I do recommend saving up for somebody like Esbianca, which comes out very quickly after this one. So talking about combat here, it looks like they're going to do a leader assignment option. So the cool thing is right now you can only have red as your kind of like leader, but giving some different combo structures essentially for yellow and blue leaders will definitely help out quite a bit. Now talking about the manual lock-on. So a lot of you guys talked about this in my last video saying, hey, I don't even know why it's roadmapped this way because this one is apparently the outdated version. Because when we go down here, you'll see that it actually says something to fix for manual lock-on. So why would they like essentially plan a fix for the manual lock-on if they already know that there's a fix for it? They might as well just patch in the new and improved manual lock-on. Now, from what I understand though, looking at this, it looks like somebody just kind of looked at the JP and CN and seen the patch notes and kind of structured it in a way that made sense for global. So a lot of this stuff may be just interpreted for the fact that it happened in JP and CN and it's expected to happen in global. It doesn't necessarily mean that they won't have the improved manual lock-on. It just means at this point in time, that's when they would have done it in JP and CN. So I would take this as kind of like if they do implement the kind of the dumber version of it, I really hope that they don't, but just take it as a grain of salt that it's kind of like, hey, it may be the improved version, but we'll definitely be checking it out when it becomes a feature in the main game. So Tower of Babel is one thing that I really wanted to talk about because a lot of people are kind of at the spot where you're playing Golden Vortex and Stronghold and you're like, what next is it for endgame? So Tower of Babel is going to be one of those things that do a lot of stuff for endgame and they're kind of structured in a weird way. So I'm going to hopefully find gameplay to give you guys an idea of what it looks like, but it's introduced in the Fallen Stars event and then it kind of goes on from there. So it's not really exclusive to the event, but it does get restructured with every event. It has new rewards and new game or like new chapters and essentially and different things you can do. So which that'll be a little bit more prominent when we go down into here because it will talk about an update for Tower of Babel. But it's one of those things where you have to kind of pay attention to the characters that you have because you will be required to use different teams and structure teams in a weird way. So just make sure you're working on your units where you can. Now as for content, we're going to be getting chapter 9. So if you guys are wanting to see a little bit more of the chapters, you're wanting to see a little bit more of the story, that is going to give it to you. Now Fallen Star event's going to be also the content, but that is structurally what we're talking about with Tower of Babel, and the new A ranks essentially is under the Fallen Star event. And then the shards for Wannabe is actually going to be available in the shop. So talking about memories here, this is something really cool because we already seen the quick unequipped essentially, and we wanted to see something that would allow us to save and assign memory sets. So it looks like it comes somewhere in the middle of September here with the Fallen Stars event. So hopefully that is correct, because I really like to just be able to unequip it, save it however I want it, and then move it to different characters, especially when you're doing stuff like Tower of Babel and Pain Cage and all kinds of different stuff, or Warzone, especially if you want to structure it in certain ways where you want some units to be a little bit stronger and you're running out of stuff like AP and stuff like that. It definitely really helps out. And then this one's talking about Patton already being in the event shop, which she is already in our event shop right now. Now, talking about the stamina here, it looks like we're actually going to get 60 plus daily stamina for completing 2 dorm missions. I know a lot of people sleep on dorm, myself included, but it's definitely something to jump into and start kind of doing some of those missions. So this isn't actually implemented into the game yet, but as you can see, it will definitely be in here, and we will cover it structurally whenever it comes into the game and give you an idea of what dorm missions and stuff like that can be. If you want to see a dorm mission video or a dorm just video in general, let me know down in the comments. We'll definitely check it out. And as talking about the other quality of life, essentially, so we're going to get a weekly bounty red dot indicator. So this is going to give you an idea. Hey, you still need to do your bounties. Hey, you still have bounties. That is going to help out quite a bit, because I always forget until like Sunday. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do my freaking bounties. And I either haven't claimed any or I just forget to do them until that day. And I'm like, oh, now I have to run through these real quickly and hopefully get them. So it's going to help out quite a bit to have something dotting there and say, hey, do this real quick. And then loading speed optimization for the retry. So essentially, whenever you die and you want to retry, you'll be able to get into it a little bit faster and you won't have to sit there forever, which definitely helps out quite a bit. Now, bug fixes, they're talking about various fixes for 6-star memories, fixes for Lee, Katarina, Liv, and etc. So just a little bit more improvements for the characters and various 6-stars. Now, going into October, so this is all just a speculation of the dates. I would say that this is pretty concrete information, especially since the structure of the 3-month in between events seems to be kind of what they're going for. But I would say that this could be subject to change depending on if they want to speed it up or not. I really hope that they don't and they keep the structure of JP, you know, the 3 months. But going into the October here, we're actually going to get more new content. Chapter 10 is going to be given to us, so you can jump in there and do some more chapters. And then they have the internal engine event, which is essentially what Esbianca and Sophia kind of jump on. That is the name of the event that they go into. And then Sophia shards are now in the shop. And then you have your raid up for Esbianca. And then Sophia is an A rank that jumps in here as well. So Sophia is actually really cool as well. I'd like to check her out. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that. And then here's where I was talking about where the Tower of Babel actually gets a little bit of a restructure essentially, and you get some different rewards and some different memory shards. So think of Tower of Babel as something that kind of gets restructured with the events and adds new rewards and stuff like that. So definitely jump onto this, and whenever it first comes out and get what you need to get for, like, you need Darwins, you need Da Vinci's, make sure to jump in there and grab those, because they do get restructured every once in a while when it comes to the new events. Now, bug fixes. Now we're going to get some nerfs, it looks like, for anatomy, pulse, iframes, fix for Katarina, and fix for Cam. Now, I don't necessarily know, again, if this is just going to be because it's structured the way it was with JP patch notes and stuff like that they took from, because it kind of seems weird that they have certain fixes that they want to implement, but they also know that there's fixes later down the road that they want to implement. I don't necessarily know if they're just feeling out the structure for global and seeing if those kind of make sense in global. I'm not necessarily sure, but it looks like we will be getting some bug fixes. And again, for the queue, the quality of life here, we're going to be able to read the story without replaying the level. So if you guys really like the story, or you're missing out on something, or you're like, oh, what is that story? What does it mean? You can go back without having to replay the level. And then this is what I was talking about earlier, the fix for manual lock-on. I really hope that this is just implemented when it first gets implemented up here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one of those things where they eventually have to fix it, because it just doesn't make sense to add the incomplete version essentially and then go back and re-add it. So hopefully they're just kind of taking the patch notes and stuff like that and giving us a structure here. And then auto for resource maps. This is going to be a big one for a lot of people who just want to do the resources, but they don't want to have to waste their personal time. They will be able to auto resource and clear multiple runs as one. So it's kind of cool that you will be able to kind of group them up. So from what I understand though, and all the stuff that I've seen about auto clearing in this game, is you can actually set it up to auto clear and you can go do something else. So you pretty much just take all the stamina that you would for however many runs you want to do for the resource, and then you can go do like co-op, or you can do like Pain Cage if you need to do that, or Warzone, or whatever else. You can go and do that while it's actually running the auto. So I'm not necessarily sure 100%, but that's just what I seen when I was looking on JP and CN. So I don't know if they're going to structure it that way at the beginning, or if it's going to be kind of one of those things where you still have to run it, but it counts as more than one run essentially. And then maybe later down the line, they essentially revamp auto. So hopefully that's kind of a thing that they kind of touch on a little bit. And the memories here is Henson in the event shop. So much like the way that we had Patton for Alpha, we're going to have Henson for Esbianca. So it's going to be something you're going to be able to grind with the internal engine event. But I would still recommend, if you are getting Hensons and stuff like that, to keep them, because it just kind of helps you out and it boosts you up a little bit more. So you don't have to grind as much in the shop to get the ones that you want. And you can start grinding stuff like resources a little bit earlier. So that is pretty much all I wanted to cover. If you guys want to see certain things, like specifically Tower of Babel, you want to talk about like more in-depth stuff about it, we can definitely do that. And then talking more about like the characters like Sophia, I think the other one is Ayla that we haven't really talked about. We can definitely do that. Let me know in the comments. I just want to make this video to give you a roadmap of the longevity of the game and exactly what's coming, and talk about what is to be expected when everybody kind of gets there in October. So anyway, guys, I will see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.